ISIS. Well, joining us now with more is author Joel Rosenberg, who's just written a new book, published yesterday, I believe, just come out. It's called The Third Target. And he's talking about what ISIS would do if they got hold of weapons of mass destruction. Joel, thank you for being with us.
Great to be with you, Pat. Thank you.
What's the deal on this thing in Paris? What do you know about it?
Well, the satirical newspaper had been mocking Prophet Muhammad. It had just published a cartoon mocking the leader of the Islamic State, ISIS, Abu Baghdadi. And the cartoon basically is a New Year's announcement by the ISIS leader saying good health to everyone, even though they are cutting off the heads of people, enslaving children, and massacring. So it is a terrorist attack, as you said, the worst in France in many, many years. And it's evidence that ISIS is moving. They are not going to stay contained in the Middle East.
Well, now, in this attack, were the terrorists killed or did they get away?
They got away. It's 2, maybe 3. I saw a video this morning of somebody shooting from a rooftop of them jumping in a car and driving off. So the good news is there was video of the car. So there's an all-points bulletin. They're on very heightened alert right now.
All right. Now, you've written a book. You've been very prescient in terms of stuff that you've written. The Defense Department wonders if you got an insight into their computers. But The Third Target, how come you wrote this book?
Well, The Third Target is really looking at what I thought was the next concern for the West and the United States, and that is ISIS, this Islamic State. Now, when I began writing it, even my publisher had not heard of ISIS, and we all wondered maybe I should write about a fictional terror group. But as I sat down with former CIA Director Jim Woolsey from the Clinton years, former CIA Director Porter Goss from the Bush years, a former head of Mossad, they all said ISIS is what's coming. And if you're going to write a book about the dangers that are coming, it's this Al-Qaeda morphing into something worse.
How come the president was surprised? He seemed to be surprised if 2 former heads of the CIA and the head of Mossad, with oral warning, didn't he get briefings on that?
Well, as you know, he skipped a lot of those briefings. No, he did. I'm not trying to make a partisan point. It's a factual point. Yes, it was a year ago today, January 7th, that he gave an interview, the president gave an interview with the New Yorker. Right. And he said in that interview, which was published a few days later, that ISIS was a JV team. It was not a serious player, and that Al-Qaeda was on the run. I was already deep into writing The Third Target. I knew that was not the case. But I will admit that I didn't expect ISIS to become as big a threat, maybe for another 4 or 5 years.
Well, they were driving pickup trucks, for heaven's sakes, with machine guns, and they swept over Iraq. It was totally illogical. I couldn't understand it.
Well, the story inside The Third Target, again, this is a novel, but it's a novel about a New York Times foreign correspondent who hears a rumor that ISIS has captured chemical weapons inside Syria. So he asks his editor if he can go interview the commander. The editor says no. The reporter goes anyway. And what sets into motion is me being able to take the reader inside this world of ISIS. And ISIS is already trying to bring down the Syrian government. They're already trying to bring down the Iraqi government. So the question becomes, what is the next target? What is the third target? Is it the United States? Is it a European capital? Is it Israel? Or is there a moderate Arab state that, where are they heading next? And I don't know if it's limited to a third. I think they have multiple targets.
Well, you have your protagonists in here, ISIS players and fictional or otherwise. They're debating where to go next. Is that it?
They're not debating. The reporter's trying to figure out where they're trying to head. And so it's a bit of a journey, because clearly they're preparing to attack on multiple fronts. But in the novel, they do capture chemical weapons. And so they're not just talking about a general attack, they're talking about a genocidal attack. I even got invited to come and sit down in Jordan with the Prime Minister of Jordan, the Foreign Minister, the Interior Minister, because I wanted to understand how Arab leaders see this emerging threat. The Interior Minister said, is this going to be like a Tom Clancy novel? I said, I hope so. He said, good, sit down, take notes. And we sat down for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and he said, the king has appointed me to make sure that your scenario never comes true in our country. Because Jordan is very worried.
Yes,
if Jordan gets taken down, if the king gets attacked and destroyed inside Jordan, you will have ISIS on the border of Jerusalem. And this is just a nightmare scenario.
Well, they also are threatening, you know, this oil thing is going on in Saudi Arabia, you know, that Ras Tanura field and those ports and so forth on the Gulf are so open to attack. And so ISIS, they're prime targets for ISIS.
They are. And what concerns me, Pat, is the complacency inside the White House. This idea first that ISIS was not a big deal, that Al-Qaeda was being destroyed, that we could pull all of our forces out of Iraq when even the president's defense secretaries, 2 of them, were telling him this is not a good idea. It's too early. Don't do it. Even Secretary Clinton was saying, don't do this. I mean, I'm not a big fan of her foreign policy, but she was at least saying this is a bad idea. President did it anyway. And he still seems complacent to this threat. Unfortunately, Parrish reminds us that this isn't fiction, that these guys are coming, and I'm concerned that they're coming here to the United States.
What do you think about, you know, the whole attitude toward ISIS? He said, as I recall, that this was not an Islamic group. Didn't he say that?
He said this, well, in effect. I mean, he's saying this is not a problem with Islam. The King of Jordan disagrees. He said this is a third world war, and this is Islam's problem. Not to say that all Muslims buy into ISIS, but clearly the Islamic State is Islamic. I mean, it sees itself as Islamic. It doesn't really matter whether anyone else sees it. It sees itself as being driven by radical Islam. And I think people are getting exhausted by the threat of radical Islam. But as I make a point throughout many of my books, you and I have talked about it, if you misunderstand the nature and threat of evil, you risk being blindsided by it. Yes. And if we get our eye off the ball, Iran is the biggest threat in the region. Sure. Radical Islam trying to build nuclear weapons. ISIS trying to capture chemical and biological weapons. But as you know, they're committing genocide even without chemical weapons. Sure. I mean, we have genocidal conditions in Syria and Iraq. Christians are being murdered. They want to kill Jews in Israel. But really, it's Muslims who are dying most right now. And we've got to have a Western alliance that's decisive. And right now, we just do not.
The leader of Egypt, al-Sisi, is a terrific guy, I think. And he came out just recently and said, look, we've got to examine this whole idea of Islam, what it is. It's got, I mean, it's repugnant throughout the earth.
I think the president of Egypt, first of all, he's an authoritarian. He has some issues on human rights. Well, however, compared to the head of the Muslim Brotherhood running the country, we're not even close. The United States should be working with Iraq, with Iraq, but with Egypt, Jordan, the Saudis, and Israel. That is an unnaturally emerging alliance against Iran and against radical Sunni Islam. And yet the president won't pursue that.
Anybody in the government who thinks strategically that is the natural strategic alliance? The Saudis have made noises in that direction. The Egyptians have made it, but we won't pick up on it. What is it?
It's the president. I mean, you know, I think if you had different leaders in office, you'd have people saying, look, I know personally that a key member of the Congress sat with el-Sisi, and he told me, I can't name the member of the Congress, but he said, I just sat with el-Sisi. He told me that he's got a better relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel than with President Obama.
Good.
Now I'm glad that relationship is building between Egypt and Israel, but it's something serious when the President of the United States, whoever that would be, doesn't understand who our allies are emerging. Again, we wouldn't have thought the Saudis would be an ally against radical Islam. 19 Saudis hit us on 9/11. But things have changed, and the president does not seem to understand it. Unfortunately, we've got 2 more years, at least, of this particular president, for sure. And even though 2016 is building up, we have to deal with the president we have now.
Well, Joel, I hope this book it sounds fascinating. And ladies and gentlemen, it's available where books are sold. It's just released. It's called The Third Target. If you like Joel's work, I mean, you've got a gorgeous Mossad agent being taken over by New York Times. The other way around. I mean, the New York Times reporter is in the thrall of the Mossad agent. Great story.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Great to see you.
God bless you. Joel Rosenberg. It's called The Third Target. Just out. You can get a copy.